What's going on, guys? They call me Jim Bob. I don't know who they are, but alright, I just call myself Jim Bob. Alright, it's just a name. What we got going on today is for video purposes only. I had a good video I made yesterday, which was Tuesday. Now it's Wednesday. The footage didn't load. I got most of my video up, and then I realized the middle of it was missing. Me and this camera right here, we don't get along real well. So I thought it had decent enough content in it to where I wanted to redo it. So I'm down here now redoing it, and we're working on the tractor. I got the tractor. I was taking a look at the cylinder head, and I seen a little rust where the head gasket goes between the cylinder and the block. And what's weird about that is this is aluminum, so I really shouldn't see any rust in there. And I started thinking, well, I'm going to be tearing into this engine anyway, so let's rip this head off and see what that rust is all about. It's probably going to need a head gasket, and since I'm going to tear into this engine, I'm going to do a little work to it. I figured, well, let's make a video and do a little instructional on how your engine works. I know, I'm sorry, a lot of you guys out there, you're not new guys. You know how an internal engine works, the functions of it. Some of the people that watch the channel don't really know that, so I like to explain what I know. I've went through this with my friends before, not in like pointing out parts, but I've explained how everything works. Like I said before, I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. I think my dad had me in the garage tearing apart small engines and making me learn them. So I do have some information to give, and I figured I'd give it to you. To the other guys that do this all the time and know exactly, you know, how the engine works, you go ahead and turn the video off. That's fine, I don't care. But if you want to watch and hang out, I appreciate that too. So, like I said, for video purposes only, I put one bolt back and everything. All right, I put a bolt back in the intake. I put a couple bolts in the head just so it would sit there and not fall apart. So I'm going to start over, and like I did last night, because last night was a very, very good video, and then I went to edit it, and I'm like, I'm missing the section. The very best part of the video is gone. It's not there. So that's bad. I'm sure I'm not the only one it happens to. And eventually I'll be able to update my No Pro, I like to call him, because he doesn't like to do anything I want him to do. And once I can upgrade, then we'll hopefully won't have as much problems. So basically, I'm going to start with the intake. The intake is loose, like I said. There's only one bolt in it right now, sitting there for instructional purposes only, so I can show you what I'm looking at. For those of you that don't have the motor head knowledge, like some of you guys do that are watching right now, your carburetor goes here. Carburetor sits on your intake manifold. Carburetor, as you know, it's air and fuel, and it goes in here. Air fuel goes this way, air fuel goes this way. They go into each one of the cylinder heads. This is a twin cylinder engine. That means there's two pistons, there's two heads. It's a twin, okay? So I go ahead and pull this bolt off. We'll pull this intake off a little bit right here. This is your intake. The newer ones are made of plastic. The older ones are aluminum, cast aluminum. The newer ones do have a problem with where they seam them together. You can see this seam right here. These will crack. They will crack and they'll deteriorate, and you'll start, you'll have a vacuum leak, and then your motor won't run very well. So this is a known problem with these plastic ones. They will go bad, they'll dry out. Plastic doesn't last forever. So as your intake is throwing air and fuel into your engine, like I said, it's going into this hole right here, which is your intake side of your cylinder head, and also this one over here is the gas and fuel inlet. All right, once it goes into there, let me just pop this cylinder head off for you with my two bolts, just like on TV. You know, video wise, I could rebuild a whole engine in 20 minutes. Real life, it's not real, like your hot rod TV shows and such. Okay, here's our cylinder head right here. All right, we'll get into that in just a minute. Let me set him down. This is the rusty part of the head gasket that I was looking at. I see there's a little rust in there. Let me grab it for a minute. You can see right here we got a little rust looking stuff, and that's the rust I seen on this gasket right here, and I was kind of concerned about it. I'm like, huh, that's not cool, because if these gaskets deteriorate and you get any kind of leakage, vacuum leakage or blow by, you can actually see right here where it's not perfectly round, it's starting to rot. That's going to give you serious engine trouble, and your motor's not going to run very well if it does run at all. So that's what made me look. This side, you don't really see that over here in these fins. You would see it in this area right here. But over here, I seen a little rust building up, and I'm like, well, that's odd. That's aluminum. Why would that be rusting? Well, it's rusting because this has a steel coating on it. And if you could look real close, you could see where that gasket's starting to deteriorate on the inside and the outside. So eventually it would have been no good. It would have been a serious engine problem. If we're looking down here, this is our piston down here in our cylinder. This is, remember, we have two pistons. This is one of two right here. Up here is our flywheel. Okay, this is the part that spins. When you open your hood, you see this spinning, and you're like, wow, why is that spinning? That's pretty cool. And it usually gets filled with grass and weeds and whatever else. You want to make sure you keep this thing clean, all right? And the reason they want you to clean it is because when this thing's spinning, it's actually pulling air in, okay? It pulls air in, and it blows it through these little fan blades here. As this turns, you can see I turn it, and it's going to generate airflow, and it's going to blow air down towards the engine. That is the reason for these stupid guards that they put all over the engine, all right? When you're trying to do stuff, change your spark plugs, oil service your mower, you got these stupid things right here, and you're like, these things are a pain. The bolts are always in a weird place. They're hard to get on and off. But they're there for a purpose, guys, and the purpose is once the shroud, the plastic shroud, is on top of this engine, the air is being blown through these covers. And they do that because then it forces air through these fins, which keeps your cylinders cool, air blowing through them. It doesn't overheat. Your car's a little different. Some engines have a radiator, which means you're running coolant, and the coolant does that. This is pretty much your conventional air-cooled engine. It uses cool air that it's sucking in here, and it's blowing through your fins to keep it at operating temperature. So that's why it's important to have this cleaned out, and that's also why they have all these silly little guards all over the place. It's just they're trying to direct the air where it needs to go. If you look in your cylinder, the big hole right here, that's the top of your piston, and as I turn this, you see the piston comes up and the piston goes down, all right? So every time your piston goes down on this side, it's going to be on top on this side, vice versa. This one's down, that one's up. V-twin action. They're working together, but they're working opposite. If you look in these holes right here, which you could just barely see with the light, if I can point to them, I don't even know where I'm pointing. Right there. If you look down in there, there's a little round thing. That's a lifter mechanism, okay? We're going to call that our lifter. You see it down there, that little round thing? That's a lifter, okay? And those two here, you got one in this port and you got one in this port. They're running off the camshaft, and as they run off the camshaft, they're pretty much doing the same thing that you're seeing right here with the piston, all right? They're going up and down, and they're going up and down opposite each other. There's a certain timing that they run off. They run off the camshaft inside the engine. These are going up and down, all right? So remember that. Your piston's going up and down. Your lifter mechanisms, they're not hydraulic lifters like some engines, like cars. They're just, they call them tappets, okay? That's a new word for you, tappets. They're called camshaft tappets, and they just go up and down, okay? And there's 2 per cylinder on this engine. Some engines, there's more than 2, all right? There's a whole lot of differentials in engines nowadays. There's engines with 4 valves per cylinder and 3 valves per cylinder and 32 valves per cylinder for fuel economy, and it's all whatever. This one has 2 per cylinder, okay, 2 valves. Which brings us to our next part, our cylinder head. Now, if we take a look at our cylinder head, I'm going to put it up here, maybe get some good light on it. Our cylinder head right here, which is kind of grody from all the nasty gas we run nowadays. These 2 little round things right here are valves. Okay, those are your valves. This hole right here is for your spark plug. You screw your spark plug in the back of your head, right there. That's where it's going to end up. It's going to be sitting right here. So, how these valves are working off your lifter tappets, which I showed you in here. And they are working by way of a push rod. See this little rod right here, this little rod? Well, he's going to go in this hole, and he's going to sit in that round thing. And him and his buddy, because there's going to be another one up top here, there's going to be 2 of these, they're going to be going in and out like that, just like the piston, okay? On certain timing. They're time special. They run off the camshaft. The camshaft has special lobes in special places, and that's going to make the valves open when they're supposed to. Now, the push rods, let me put you on the stand real quick. Thank you. You've been a great host or guest or whatever you are. I guess I'm the host, you're the guest. So your push rod's going to come up through the head right there. See that right there? It's going to come up through there. And it's going to ride on our rocker arm assembly right here. I don't know, can you see that? Oh, maybe not. So this is hard to do. I need a cameraman. Maybe someday I'll have one. So our push rod right now, there we go, is on our rocker arm assembly. And what it's going to do is this thing's going to be going up and down, in and out like that. All right. I don't mean for this to look like a dirty video, but that's what it does. It runs off our lifter tappet, and it's doing this. The one on the other side is also doing this on the other rocker arm, which isn't on this head right now. And they're working together. I'm just going to say as one is down, the other is up. Okay, so they're going to work back and forth. They're going to open and close, open and close. As they're doing that, they are pushing on our rocker arm. This right here is our rocker arm. This one on this side is already taken off. It sits on a bolt like this, and it just rocks back and forth. It's kind of like a teeter-totter. Okay, so as our push rod is pushing up in here, we're pushing down on this side. So it kind of does that number right there. Why is that important? Well, I'm getting there. Sorry for being drug out. I'm trying to rush through this. You guys are learning a lot, so bear with me. Your rocker arm is pushing on this spring and the valve stem. Okay, this is your valve right here. This is exhaust valve. This is intake valve. So as your teeter-totter's rocking, you're opening and closing these valves. Okay, they got a big spring on them, so when there's no tension, it closes, because it's very important for it to seal. And you can see it maybe in the head if I can push it by hand. I can push it a little bit, but not a lot. You can see how it's opening and closing. So at one point in your engine, when your engine's on here and your gas is going in your intake port, this valve right here is going to open. Okay. As this valve is opening, chances are this piston's going to be going down into the cylinder. As it's going down, it's sucking what through here? Well, it's sucking gas and air through here because this valve is open, so it's letting gas and air in here. As our engine comes around and takes another revolution, both valves are going to be closed. So the gas and the air that is in your cylinder is going to have nowhere to go, and it's going to be stuck in your cylinder as the piston comes back up. Okay? As the piston comes back up, you're compressing the gas and you're compressing the air in that cylinder. Sorry about that, I probably just made you dizzy. And then your little spark plugs right here, well, at the same time that the piston comes to the top, your spark plug's like, spark, and all of a sudden you have an explosion. You have an explosion in your cylinder. That's going to drive your piston back down. The explosion's going to drive the piston back down, okay? And then on the next revolution where the piston's coming up to the top again, your exhaust valve is going to open. This little guy right here, this is your exhaust valve. So as your piston comes up to the top, like this, you have no air, no fuel in there right now because you just exploded it. This valve opens and it blows it out this hole, which is your exhaust. So, and then your exhaust goes out, and then all over again. Your intake valve opens, your piston goes down, fills the cylinder with air and fuel, comes up, your spark plug sparks, boom, drives it back down to the bottom. Next revolution up, your exhaust valve is up, and you have your exhaust. All right. I know that's very, very vague explanation on how it works, but hopefully it'll help you understand. It's it's funny how the motor guys will say suck bang blow. Okay, that's what you're doing. You're sucking the air and fuel in, you bang, and then you're blowing it out the exhaust. That's what suck bang blow is. It sounds pretty weird and kind of perverted, but that's the truth, guys. That's what it's all about. That's why mechanics are a special breed. You know, they're kind of weird. But I'm sure they came up with that term too. But I figured if I'm pulling my gasket off and I want to look at my engine, I'm just going to explain that to you real fast. We can get in a little more depth to it if you wanted to. Everything happens in an instant. That whole pulling the gas in, explosion, exhaust, it happens. Well, look at your tachometer. 500 revolutions per minute is what this is idling at. So that means your crankshaft, which is this, the center of this is going 500 revolutions per minute. That's fast. So all this suck bang blow is happening like very, very fast. Okay. So, and then, you know, you want to take it a step further and really blow your mind. Think about the race cars out there. There's some of these alcohol top fuel cars are making 1,200 horsepower. That's a lot. That's big cylinders. It's big valves. It's big everything. Your sport bikes, your crotch rockets out running around. Some of them bikes you can take them up to 9,000 RPM. 8,000 RPM. Really? That's 8,000 revolutions per minute. You know how fast those things are going inside? Everything's got to work in perfect. It's got to be synced together to work perfect. One little wrong move, boom, you're done. You're screwed. Your motor's junk. Good night, Irene. Move on. So, yeah, I figured I'd put that out there. That's pretty much, I just wanted to explain that to all you people that don't understand the engine. Hopefully it made you smarter, and you can go to work tomorrow and you can say, hey, I know how the motor works. So, I was watching Jim Bob, and he explained it to me. So, we can get in a lot more depth. I could probably talk a lot more about all of this if you wanted to. If you're interested in knowing anything or learning anything about an engine or how it works or what part of the engine does what, even electronics in your car, if you have a question about sensors or something like that, just leave it in the comments. I'll glad to do a demo for you. Like I said, I've done this all my life. Small engine is what I learned on, but I've done it all. I work on everything, anything gasoline, diesel. So I have a very, very strong knowledge, and I have a strong knowledge because I have a lot of experience. A lot of my experience comes from all the problems I've had. Like, I've had stuff that I can't figure out, and it's taken me a few weeks to figure things out, but I figured them out, and I will never forget why that was happening, whatever it was happening, because I won't stop. If I can't make something run, I make it all run. I won't stop. It's a sickness, and there's probably a lot of you guys out there the same way. But that's where you get your hands-on real-life experience. I'm not reading it in a book. I got my hands in it. I'm figuring it out. If I can't figure it out, I'm not stopping until I do. So that's how us guys are. That's it for tonight. That's probably not as good as the first video I made. Like I said, No Pro let me down, but you know, if you have anything you want to see, anything you want to learn, if I can help you explain stuff to you, that'd be great too. But yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know. I got to put the old Jim Bob glasses back on because that's part of the role. And next time I work on the race tractor, I'll let you know. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you later.